The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Friends in Recovery podcast, the podcast that is here to help you, a loved one, or a friend get started down the road to recovery. This is the Friends in Recovery podcast, brought to you by the Genesis House. Genesis House, providing a safe, nurturing environment to heal from addiction since 1992. Please be a friend and share our message with a friend on Podbean, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or YouTube. And now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey, welcome everybody to Friends in Recovery podcast. And we're podcasting live from Studio 21, Podcast Café in beautiful Salem, New Hampshire, with our producer extraordinaire, Ed Sullivan. And I'm Mike Miles.
And I'm Chionchio. And Mike, we need to refer you as the Podfather,
yes,
not Mike Miles.
I am the Podfather.
Yes, you are. You are the Podfather. And welcome, everybody. Real quick, let's get the business out of the way. As
Absolutely.
I always say, we want to thank Genesis House for sponsoring this endeavor and helping all the people out there. Even if they're not coming to Genesis House, we're helping a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Out there. Get in touch with Genesis House. You'll see it scrolling across the screen, the 800 number, and it's 800-737-0933. And Mike can also be reached.
Yes, at 978-746-1717. That's my direct cell phone, and call me directly anytime.
Yeah.
24/7, 365.
And we encourage you to call 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
A couple of things to get a hold of the show. You can email us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. We also have a website that you can also get a hold of us, and that's friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Go on there, fill out the little form in it. We get it, and we can give you a call. We do need some speakers, right? So
always
if anybody wants to come on,
That's
and we're going to introduce our guest here in a minute. But we always need guests. So email us if you're in recovery, if you're an alumni. Give us a call. If you do want to get involved with the alumni.
Absolutely.
We're calling it something different now, but I forgot what we're calling it.
Bottles and badges?
No, that's something different. That's
You got a lot of things going on, Ed.
recovering community. I think that's what it
my
is.
goodness.
But Melissa's going to kill me if I didn't get it right. And Skylar too. But email Skylar at skylarn@genesishouse.net. If you want to be involved with our alumni or with our recovering community, Friends in Recovering Community, I believe it is. But I will have more information on the next show about that. I'm not prepared today.
Sounds good. We have a special guest today?
We do have a guest today. His name's Tim Alexander, born in Texas, spent the majority of his life in Virginia. He spent 25 years in active addiction, using opiates between the ages 25 to 39. Here's a fun fact, 13 felonies, over 50 felony charges. Welcome, Tim.
Tim.
Hey, thank you.
But Tim's going to...
sober today.
Tim's sober today, and he's going to kind of go into his story, and that's some stuff in the past that you had going on, and we want to hear a little bit about that, and maybe a little bit about what's going on now and what you're doing, and you're very involved in the community, helping people, and we want to hear all that good stuff so we can get that out. Everybody can hear that out here. So, tell us a little bit about why are you here?
I'll tell you, first of all, it's always an honor to be able to share my story of addiction, but more importantly, the recovery aspect of it. Unfortunately, we are still facing quite a bit of stigma out there, although things are getting better. And it's good for the community to be able to see individuals who are in recovery doing the next right thing and being of service to their community. So that, that hasn't always been a part of my story. So, 25 years of active addiction, started off with weed and alcohol, and eventually progressed into opiates. Started off with painkillers, and then it led to heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. something I never thought I'd do.
And that was 25 years of that, and Mike and I can identify with that.
Absolutely.
We were out there. I don't think I was out there for 25 years, but I was out there for some time. And Mike, you were out there. So.
Yeah, I got sober at 32, so I was out there for a good, I'd say 20 years.
Yeah.
I started boozing and drugging when I was about 12, 13. It got really bad. I was probably out pretty heavy into the cocaine about 3 years, so from age 29 to 32.
Yeah. So, Tim, what led you to well, obviously we know what led you to recovery, but what was that breaking moment that you said, okay, I gotta figure this out? I mean, the typical, was it the wife? Was it the mom? Was it, I don't know. I mean, just kind of lead us that direction.
Through 25 years of active addiction, I've actually never had the opportunity to get married yet, although I do have a fiance now.
Congratulations.
But I'll tell you, in 2016, January, I got caught with possession of heroin in Chesterfield County, Virginia. A slew of charges came along with that from other jurisdictions, Henrico County and Hanover. With 10 felonies on my record at that point, my guidelines were calling for about 5 years in prison. And like most of us do when we're in situations like that, I was sitting in jail. I was feeling hopeless. And it's something I had experienced over and over and over again, sitting in those in confinement and being comfortable there because I was sober and I had an opportunity to work on myself. Mm-hmm. But there was another part of me that wanted to try one more time at this recovery thing.
And we're all familiar with that, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
We all think we can give it one more shot. That maybe we're not fucking addicted. Maybe this is just a fluke, and we can get through it. I'm sure you've been through that 1,000 times in your addiction.
Many times.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was. I for sure thought that the chances of me getting a program like drug court, being as that I had been given programs many times before and had fallen short. But I wrote a letter to Henrico County Drug Court asking if they would come and evaluate me and at least take a look at me. Mm-hmm. And they did. They came and took a look at me. I obviously met the criteria. I didn't have any barrier crimes or anything like that. So the work started having to get different jurisdictions involved and to go along with this instead of giving me that 4, 5, 6 years in the penitentiary, because I had already been to the penitentiary 2 different times, mm-hmm. to jail, probably 30 times before that.
Wow. And we know jail doesn't work for folks like us. We need recovery. We need to be, I mean, we're not, this is my famous saying, we're not bad people getting good. We're sick people trying to get well. So do we do some bad things in the meantime in our addiction? Yeah, we did. But you're right, and drug court is amazing. I mean, you've seen it work, and I'm sure you see people
Absolutely.
through drug court. Absolutely. And Tim, you're a product of drug court, obviously, and you're doing well now. I see here that somebody by the name of Bernard Green, was he a drug court officer?
Well, Bernard was a drug court clinician at first. When I first started drug court, the guys go with the male clinician, females with the female. He was the male clinician there. And I was going through a rough patch. I had learned how to kind of beat the system in drug court and time things perfectly with Dilaudid. So I could use Dilaudid, knew I could get it out of my system in 2 days. Mm-hmm. But like addiction always does, it starts off that way, but then it snowballs into something to where it led me to shooting heroin. And I hadn't failed a drug test into the men's process group that night, and they go around in a circle and they ask about our feelings and focus things like that. But when he got to me, he said, Tim, I got to tell you, man, you look like shit. There's something about you right now that is not sitting right with my spirit. And, Bernard was in recovery, so, he knew the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, I didn't have the courage to speak up. The shame and the guilt from the consistent use was eating me alive.
Yeah.
So afterwards, after the group, I followed him into his office, and I said, you know what, you're right. Part of the reason for doing that was to save my own ass, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
we're very resourceful as addicts and alcoholics.
Absolutely.
And when I asked him what I should do, he said, I'm just not going to tell you. Every time people ask for suggestions, they're not going to follow what I tell them to do. You're just going to do what the fuck you want to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the truth. And there was something about in that moment that I began to realize that, I was manipulating for one.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up to Bernard. Bernard was an amazing human being. Every time he walked in the room, he radiated everything that I wanted to be as a person. So when he said that, me and him went back and forth for a while. I was a little upset. I was pissed. I was like, no, seriously, I need help. What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he said, call your probation officer and tell on yourself. Let her know everything that is going on.
Sounds good.
And tell on yourself. That's what you should do. As soon as you leave here, make that phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And as hesitant as I was to make that phone call when I got out of that building, I made it. And like anything else I've ever done in addiction,
mm-hmm.
The disease is telling me you've made a huge mistake.
Yep.
These people are going to terminate you from this program. You're going to spend 5 years in prison.
Wow.
That's a tough decision to make, and it was the right decision because you know what, it sounds like you ended up just being true to yourself, and then you ended up going the right direction. When we're sitting in our own shit, Mike, it's fear, fuck everything and run. There's another acronym for it, but or face everything and recover. There's definitely different ways looking at fear, and that sounds like you just had that pivotal moment and wanted to kind of turn it around. So
I bet you Bernard would be very proud of you. I read your bio. It's pretty interesting, Tim. And, Bernard's not with us any longer, I see. But, a gentleman like him, far and few between.
mm-hmm.
And, it's amazing that as addicts, we carry around all this knowledge, but we keep it down. We don't want it to come up, and we don't want to get honest. Like it says in your bio, lying becomes a way of life, and that's just we do it to please people. Which I read that and I thought, boy, that is so true. We do it to get out of trouble. We just go on and on, but
we figure out how to survive.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a break.
Quick break.
Yep, and then we're going to find out what Tim is doing now and how he's doing, and what direction he went in his life now.
Sounds good.
That's it, Mike.
See you in a bit, Tim.
All right.
Genesis House is a premier substance abuse and rehabilitation facility located in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. We have been providing the highest quality of addiction treatment since 1992 and are accredited by the Joint Commission. We offer a range of programs that include detox, residential treatment, dual diagnosis, a Christian track for people who want to incorporate their faith into treatment, a uniform services track, and we work with most major insurance carriers. Genesis House is led by a dedicated team of administrative and clinical professionals, and we stand on our commitment to excellence in recovery services. Contact us today to find out more about our program. Take the first step and call Genesis House at 800-737-0933 or visit us on the web at www.genesishouse.net. That's 800-737-0933 or www.genesishouse.net. Begin your journey to a long and successful recovery with Genesis House.
Welcome back, everybody. FriendsInRecoveryPodcast.com. And we're here in Studio 21, and we were talking to Tim Alexander, who's down in Virginia, and we're Skyping with Tim, and he's doing a fabulous job. Very interesting story, Tim. When we left off, we excuse me, we were talking about Bernard Green, and where are you today? Like right now, currently, in the last 2.5 years? Sounds like you've really gotten to a point where you're pretty content. Life's good. You're sober. You must be
Yeah.
very, very pleased and grateful. Obviously, you're 12-step in here. You're giving back, and just by being on our podcast, we can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And where are you today? Let us know.
Okay, so in my recovery, my pathways, there was multiple. It was the drug court. It was recovery residences as well. Obviously, there was 12-step programming, and till this day, there's 12-step programming.
Very good.
But I'm a certified peer recovery specialist.
Congratulations. Nice.
Yeah, thank you. I work at CleanSlate Centers here in Richmond, Virginia. And I get the opportunity to give back to people who are just like me. And I find it as a blessing, Another job came up. My part-time job is with Henrico County Drug Court now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're working for the drug court also?
I do. Yeah.
Wow. So isn't it ironic how
really
many years
is,
ago you were looking at begging to get into the system, and now you're a peer recovery specialist in the system now,
It's amazing.
right?
Yes.
It's amazing. It's completely amazing. And how many years are you sober? I know I've seen it on here, but just let us know.
2.5. I think I said.
2.5 years.
Closing in on 2.5. Yeah.
And Tim, what do you do at the drug court? Do you do the same thing Bernard did, or what do you do?
Well, you guys were talking about the alumni thing, so I'm part of the alumni group.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm a certified peer specialist there as well. I obviously try to help every individual find their pathway to recovery, talk to them about the 12 steps, the spirituality in 12 steps, the importance of connection and getting out and meeting people, because my story consists of being disconnected just about from everybody and everything in my life.
Right.
And that started at an early age, alcoholic father. My mother was also, an addict. So I'm sober now.
Now, do you go to meetings? Do you have a sponsor? Do you have the normal stuff that us people on this side have? Is that something you still do?
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. And that's important. I always want to get that out. I try to talk about that every show, is get a sponsor, get a home group, keep these people in your lives. Even though you work in that field, we still need to hear the recovery. We still need to talk recovery. We still have problems out there. So it's good that you're doing that, and it gives people hope out there that are listening to this. Maybe somebody's listening now and they're in drug court, and look where you're at today.
Can you spot a Tim? Can you spot somebody who's coming through the doors, fairly new to this program? Can you spot someone who might have been is being like you used to be, just kind of going through the motions, just to get in, get out? You see it?
Yeah, and I don't mind calling them on that shit.
Wow,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good. It's good for them, as far as that they can do that.
Absolutely.
Now, quick question. We know that this is not a 100% successful field in what we do on our end, what I'm sure what you do in drug court and a peer recovery specialist. Do you see people just say, screw it, I don't want to do this, I'd rather go to jail, or I want to just go try it again? And what does that do to you? It must hurt a little bit inside, or it must say, okay, well, I know where I'm at, and can you answer that type of question?
Absolutely. Yeah, you absolutely do. And, when I think about it, that was me, for so many years. And, I can only do but so much. I can only reach out but so much. A lot of the work comes on, the person that's seeking recovery. All I can hope to do is kind of plant that seed for those individuals.
Right.
And hope that over time, they don't die. I just had a really good friend pass away on Memorial Day.
Sorry about that, man.
And I stay active in the community in order to provide resources for people. I'm an AmeriCorps alumni, War Foundation alumni, McShin alumni, Real Life alumni, Henrico County Drug Court alumni.
Wow.
I sit on reentry councils. Anything that I can do to play a part in the recovery community and get people linked and connected and hooked up, and keep myself and my recovery linked and connected is, that's what I live for every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice being sober, isn't it?
Now, is there a way somebody get a hold of you? Is there an email address, or you want to have them contact you through the show? We always ask our guests about that also. Is there something that you want to have them contact us through the show?
Absolutely. I could be, my email is talexander@CleanSlateCenters.com. My cell phone number, personal cell phone number, you can call me anytime if you need help with anything, is 804-246-9814. I'm also on Facebook. You can, get a hold of me through Messenger or, anyway. And, I love to share my story as much as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It gives everybody hope out there.
People like our
Yeah. Yeah. And one other thing, we are streaming live on Facebook now. I forgot to say that, Mike.
Right,
and,
exactly.
I keep forgetting all this news technology stuff that goes on. But, keeping in communication, keeping in touch with everybody is how AA works.
Absolutely.
And, I noticed, Tim, you're giving out your cell phone number. Mike gives out a cell phone number. I give out the 800 number. I can give out my cell phone number, but too many numbers. So I just give out the 800 number. But the one thing that keeps us all sober, we have to hear from the addicts out there that are still using or maybe on the fence about things. We want to hear that, because you know what? It keeps us sober also, but also we have something to share with that person. Maybe they need to hear your story today, Tim, and what you were telling everybody. Maybe that one person will not die today because there is hope through drug court. You didn't go to jail. You didn't go to the penitentiary. You got through drug court, and now you're sober and you're helping other people out. That's a completely amazing story. I mean, completely amazing. And you got to be really proud of it.
Yeah, definitely. It's only because of recovery.
Absolutely.
Drug court's it's almost like a new entity for the last, I'd say, several years, maybe. Well, at least 7 or 8 years, and that's relatively new. And I think the judges and the probation officers and the clerks, everybody involved in the courts, in drug courts, I mean, they're there for a specific reason, and it's to help people. And it's so good that society's taking the stigma off of being an addict and looking at you as you're not a good person, you're a bad person, you're evil. When in fact, we're not. We're sick people. Like Ed said, we're sick people trying to get well. But I really applaud people that in the court system, in the criminal justice system, that have finally decided it's time that we stop putting these people in warehouses.
Yep.
These men and women that are drug addicted, that are selling, stealing, lying, cheating,
for their addiction.
Right.
Yeah.
Get them the help they need, because as a result, we have people like you. I've been recovering myself for many years. I was a cop that had a drug and alcohol problem. They wanted to fire me. I was fortunate that it didn't happen, and I was able to work the rest of my career. 28 years sober as a cop. 30.
That's amazing.
It was, and it was good helping people. And I mean, I still did my job in a very adequate way, but I guarantee you, there were a lot of people along the way that if I hadn't been there, they might not be alive, because I looked at things differently than most police officers did, because I am an addict and an alcoholic. So.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Tim, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you, and let's stay in touch. It was a great guest, and if anybody wants to get a hold of Tim, give us a call here at the show. Or Mike, you call Mike.
Yeah, Tim's number's right here, 804-246-9814. And that's Tim Alexander. Tim, it's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely, Tim.
You're a testament to how this system really can work. And boy, you should be proud of yourself. And I'm sure people that love you and care about you must be very proud of you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tim, and I think that's about it for today.
Yeah, it was a good show. Good seeing you, Ed.
Yep, absolutely. Let's thank Genesis House one more time.
Yep.
And
Genesis House been with us for 17 months, putting the show on, and I'll tell you, we've helped a lot of people.
Absolutely. And remember, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. No matter what you're on, you'll get the show every week. Watch us live on Facebook,
iTunes,
iHeartRadio, all that good stuff, all that business stuff that we don't like to talk about, but I think we have to once in a while, and get it all together. And that's all for now.
That's it.
Yep. Stay sober, everybody.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.